For my six, what I decided I'm going to do is I'm not going to do the same director twice, but you're welcome to steal any of these. I'm going to just shout them out real quick. People we've done who have another movie on this list. So
Sure.
you just said Yorgos Lanthimos for The Lost River. He has Killing of the Sacred Deer, which was his next movie. And then it was the favorite after that. Killing
Yeah.
of the Sacred Deer, also Colin Farrell, also A24. Love, love, love that movie. I'm not going to pick it. We already are picking The Lobster, and it's better. Swiss Army Man is an A24 movie, and then those same dudes went on to do Everything Everywhere All at Once. Love that movie. Not
Yep.
going to pick it, even though it would be soon. And then Men is this tier, maybe a little bit lower. We did a whole episode on that recently. Check it out. But same director who did Ex Machina. And then Good Time is the other Safdie brothers movie. And I'm actually like I
Yep.
might still reserve to put that on the 10 spot because I love Good Time. And actually, in some ways, I like it more than Uncut Gems, even though it's like pre-Uncut Gems. That's not as much budget. Like it's not as but it's really good. If you like the feeling that Uncut Gems gave you, see Good Time with Robert Pattinson by Safdie brothers. So I'm gonna just like say those out loud. You're welcome to steal them, but I'm putting those off my list, even though they would be around here in this tier. Um, for my next pick, I'm going with an early A24 movie from 2014, before they'd ever been nominated for anything, and Obvious Child, starring Jenny Slate. I know I mentioned this one. I think it was when we did our Everything Everywhere All at Once episode, mentioning that movie again, because Jenny Slate's in that one. This is a movie that she was the star of.
Hmm.
It also has Jake Lacey, which he was having a good minute in his career here. Um, Gabby Hoffman. A lot of people would know from the show Girls, or she was the young girl in Field of Dreams, and
Right.
David
Right. Right.
Cross. Uh, it is more in that like cute, idiosyncratic, hipster indie movie vein. It
Hmm.
is not as heavy, but it is dealing with um, it's dealing with pregnancy, unwanted pregnancy, the decision to have an abortion, and it is a really well done movie where it's taken heavy subject and doing it with a lot of comedy all throughout. Her character, Jenny Slate, plays a stand up comedian. I mentioned that I saw her do stand up comedy in Brooklyn. I also saw her do a Q&A after this movie. I got to see this one in theaters. So, in light of recent Supreme Court decisions, which we're not going to get into on this episode, I would like to not leave that. I would like to leave that outside of this conversation. But in light of that, if someone's interested in like movies around that topic, this is a really well done movie. It handles the topic well, in my opinion, and there is also humor all throughout it. So some of these are really heavy. I feel like we deserve a little comedy one thrown in here if
Sure.
we were putting together an A24 film festival review thing. And so while it does have that, I would not worry about that as like, oh, this is gonna like ruin my night watching someone go through something. It is a really clean, well-directed, beautiful movie, a sweet story, and genuinely funny at the end of the day. I think of it more as a comedy than a drama, and it's also got those like cute, hipster, quirky angle that Jenny Slate is so damn good at. It might be she's had a few movies, but this might be her biggest lead movie that I'm thinking about. And nothing else is really coming to mind. So, anyway, I also want to give this movie a shout out because it's 2014 and it started as a 2009 short film, but then A24 helps develop it. I don't know how widely seen it was. I know I was there opening weekend at Angelica um, in downtown Manhattan, and this is a very special movie to me. I've seen it a couple times for sure. It's the kind of movie that like hanging out with someone, I'll be like, hey, we should put this movie on. You're gonna like it. And generally people go, how did I not hear about this? It's a really really good movie. Um, so yeah, fully recommend it. I know when we talked about it before, you hadn't seen it when we were talking about Everything Everywhere, and this
Yeah.
this movie came up. But definitely fully recommend when you're in that mood for that kind of that angle between seriousness, but also starring a stand-up comedian and very funny. And
Cool. Yeah. No, it definitely sounds good. It's definitely on my list of things to watch. I have my own like A24 movies to watch, and that's definitely on there. Because like I again I am not so familiar with Jenny Slate, but after us talking about her often and recently, especially with Marcel the Shell, I'm very interested to see what she can do outside of that. I remember her time on SNL and everything. And then I've watched like interviews of her, and I've seen her in person do a Q&A. So I feel like the more and more I want to see more of her work for sure. So I definitely do want to check this out. So thank you for reminding me about that. So
Runtime is 2 minutes shorter than Lock. It's
look
83
at
minutes.
that. Look at
Check
that.
it out. Check
Look at
it
that.
out. Hell yeah.
See, this
Uh,
this is I think that's another brilliant thing about A24 movies is that most of them are really easy to watch and very short. Like these are the movies that belong on streaming services so that you could like watch this like before you go to bed or whatever the case is.
hell yeah.
Very, very awesome. Were you gonna say something or no?
No,
Okay.
I could talk about this movie some more. I was thinking about, but no, you're kind of caught that. But I get really excited about movies like this. I
It's
want to
all
hear your
good.
next pick.
All right. So for what are we? We're on six now, right? All right. For six, I don't know if this is a movie you may have seen. I wouldn't consider it to be a horror movie. This is more of like a romance fantasy movie. And this is a movie that I saw last year. It came out in 2017. A ghost story. A ghost
Ah,
story with Casey Affleck and one of my favorite actresses, Rooney Mara. I really am a huge fan of Rooney Mara, but it is a very kind of haunting, but really more of like a chilling tale of a man who passes away and is forced to relive his existence as a ghost, but stuck in time, rewatching all the events of his life with his wife within the house that they live in, and kind of just seeing it all play out. And you notice like little things that maybe may have caught their attention while they were alive or whatever the case is, but it's really a story about grievance, loss, all that stuff like that, legacy. It, it's a movie with very little dialogue, very, very little dialogue, a lot of just scenes as you are watching the ghost walk around, look out the window, watch someone cook, watch someone read, listening to music, all that stuff. Very little dialogue, but the impact is still so strong as you are just feeling for this spectral, existence, re-experiencing their life and what they just miss in general, the love and relationship with his wife and all that stuff like that. Very touching movie. It hit me really, really at the right time in the right spot, and I think it's just one of those like you get reminded that A24 not only can do horror movies or quirky movies, but they could really hit you in the feels. And this is definitely one of those movies that really hits you in the feels. And to be able to do so with such little dialogue, I thought it was so brilliantly done. Another easy to watch film of only an hour and 32 minutes. So, really, really, really great movie. I don't know. Did you see this movie at all?
I saw this movie.
Okay.
Um, I watched this one at home a couple years after it came out. I think it was actually last year too. It may have been a COVID movie where when that hits, I basically make a
Hmm.
long list of movies that I had wanted to see. The amount of movies I saw those first few months, dude, it was wild.
I
Like
can only
sometimes like
imagine.
3 or 4 a day for real. And this is on that list. Casey Affleck, I'm a huge fan. The same director did Anthem Body Saints, which is a nice Casey Affleck picture.
Mhm.
Um, I want after assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, I want Casey Affleck to have more lead roles just as an actor, and then Manchester by the Sea happens, and then there's
Yeah.
controversy around him.
Right.
My understanding on the timeline of all that is that this movie is released before. I honestly don't know to what degree this movie is culpable in that regard, but nonetheless, I remember around the time when this movie's coming out, like being a big fan of Casey Affleck, and he's also in the Walking Phoenix picture. I'm not here. Um, his acting style is kind of perfect for these types of slower movies, and he's got a
Yeah.
slow, light voice. This movie, I remember doing a lot of that Terrence Malick kind of thing, where he'll leave the camera on for a long time and
Yeah.
slowly, and you're watching things happen, no dialogue. You're just watching things move barely, slowly. A lot of realism in that, and a lot of real time kind of stuff,
Mm.
and a quirky concept. The only thing that threw me is I went into it thinking it would be more of that quirky indie comedy kind of thing because of the ghost and the sheet,
And
and
the
like it's
sheet,
like
yeah.
it's a little cartoony, like corny. Um, I thought it was gonna be more of a mumblecore movie where there's the one I think it's called bag something, and like the guy just wears a bag on his head, and it's just but
Mhm.
it's comedy kind of thing, and like I thought it'd be more of that lighthearted. It was not as lighthearted as I thought it would be. It was very beautiful.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're ready to move on, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, on this movie, I will say I'm a little mad now because by doing that and me saying I'm not going to do the same director twice, I'm taking Green Knight off because this director, David Lowery, ends up making Green Knight with A24 a few years later. And when you actually were talking about fantasy romance, I was like, is he going Green Knight? I would put Ghost Story above Green Knight above Ghost Story, but it also might be one of those where
Okay.
it's an expectation game kind of thing where I was a little thrown by it, and Green Knight was hit exactly where I wanted it to.
See,
So
that's interesting because The Green Knight, I didn't like that movie. Yeah, I maybe I'm one of the few. I don't know. But when I remember walking out of that movie, just being, I visually stunning. Visually, it was a stunning movie, but the story itself and everything, I just was not. It just didn't hit me. Yeah, I don't know. So I love the scene where he came on himself. I mean, that was nice.
thank you, Renee. Thank you. Yeah, you don't like movies. You like movies that are stunning, but also well written and well acted and great stories and just everything that a movie could do. Green Knight did really well and better than Ghost Story. I get it. I get why you didn't
Okay.
like it
All
that
right. Fair. Fair.
much.
Fair.
Okay, for my number seven pick,
Yep.
you chose Ghost Story, a haunting movie. I am gonna go with a haunting movie that is the opposite vibe of Obvious Child, and there's zero jokes in this one.
Okay.
Under the Skin,
Oh,
we're going old school A24, 2013, directed by
nice.
Jonathan Glazer, starring Scarlett Johansson. This is actually, now that I'm thinking about it, their first movies are 2013.
Yeah.
They start 10 years ago, but this is August that year, so it's going to be one of the very first ones.
Yeah.
Um, the summary of the plot, if you haven't seen it yet, see it. It's impossible for me to communicate what this movie is so good at doing because it builds a feeling really, really well. A haunting, creepy, tension kind of feeling. It's kind of like the Uncut Gems Good Time Safdie Brothers thing, but without the human element because the basic plot is like an otherworldly woman who preys on men in Scotland. Scarlett Johansson plays she's the otherworldly woman, and at some point there's some kind of like shape shifting. She goes into a pool, comes out looking differently, but it's not very clear. There's not a ton of dialogue in this movie.
Mhm.
Um, really, really well done. The thing that Promising Young Woman is doing plot wise, where a woman preying on men, we're doing a similar kind of concept, but again, totally different feeling. There are very few movies like this. A24 took a bet on it. On this one, it was a budget of $13.3 million. They
Wow.
made $7 million off of it. So they lost half the money, but it wasn't that much money to begin with. I don't
Right.
know how much they paid Scarlett Johansson. Either she did somebody a favor or that was 98% of their budget. Not quite sure how that works, how that worked. The most special thing about the movie that still sticks with me that I can actually hear it in my head right now is the score.
Mhm.
It's minimal, it's haunting. A lot of it is just this like rhythmic drum. And if you're listening on the podcast, I'm currently bobbing my head. It's just boom, tut, boom, tut, and then every now and then, sparsely you'll get strings, kind of thing, and that's it. And it'll go on. There's chunks of the movie. I saw this when it came out in theaters. I have not watched it again. I
Mhm.
listened to the score many, many times, but off memory, we're looking at like 20-minute chunks of this movie with very little dialogue and just that sound happening throughout the entire time. If you want a very concise, well done, I think we're looking at a runtime of like hour and 40 minutes ish. Um, this is one of those where they take a bet. It's a loss financially, but fuck it. We're A24. We make good movies.
Yeah.
BBC put it number 61 on their list of the 100 greatest films of the 21st century,
Wow.
included on many best of the decade lists. Um, it is critically beloved. It is for a reason. It is really, really well done. If you want something that's more of like an experience, and it's not so heady dialogue, plot, story, all of that, and more of like a what in the world, but I don't even know if I would call it beautiful. It's more of like a haunting tension feeling, but it's a cool movie too. It definitely has whatever it is that A24 does so well in all these different genres. It still
Mhm.
has that for sure, and that's why I'm putting it number seven. It deserves that slot.
Interesting. Now, this is not. It's not. You can't. You wouldn't compare it to, let's say, the J Lo movie, The Cell, right?
I haven't seen The Cell.
Neither have I, but I've also heard like kind of similar like takes on it. Like visually, it's strange and all this kind of stuff
Now
like
I'm gonna
that.
watch The Cell. Damn. Okay. Shit, I love this movie so much, and it's got a celebrity star. Yeah, hell yeah, sign me up. Definitely don't do it if you're in the middle of a panic attack, because it
Oh,
is one of those for sure. But if you want to have that an experience, definitely it is good
okay.
for that for
Uh,
sure. Fully
Oh,
recommend.
all
Late
right.
at night,
Yeah,
lights are off. You're like, I'm not ready to go to bed yet. I got a couple hours, and then watch this, and you might not be able to go sleep for a couple more. So, um,
gotcha.
it's good for that.
All right. Yeah, this has been actually on my list to wanting to watch for a very long time. It's just I'd never had a chance to. But, now that I'm in like this A24 kick, it's definitely like something I'm probably going to end up watching in the next couple of weeks. So, definitely interesting. And then interesting to see that this is a choice of yours for your list there. So, cool. For my number 7, I'm going to go with I'm curious if this ever would have made your list at all, but we're gonna stick along the train here of touching, heartwarming. This one is definitely coming of age. We've all experienced this stuff growing up, and that's eighth grade.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's
yeah,
coming up soon. Damn,
yeah.
that's good.
Eighth grade is a movie directed by Bo Burnham, that has his signature all over this movie. You watch this movie and you can tell immediately that this is his movie. Like he has very similar kind of visual effects, very similar kind of transitions and shots and all that. It stars, I believe the actress's name is Elsie Fisher, I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just felt so much for her character. This kind of awkward um, teen doing that transition from middle school to high school, which we all know is very difficult for any one of us, especially if you are not one of the popular kids or one of like the cool kids or anything like that. She is definitely a person who's very creative and a little bit, shy, but she has this in her, this aspirations to wanting to be cool, to wanting to be confident. She has her own YouTube channel that she posts videos that give tips on how to be confident or how to look a certain way or how to put yourself out there. But when you see her in real life, she struggles with that every day. So it was just, I just felt so much for her character, and I've seen and experienced many things that she went through. The relationship she has with her father is also very touching. The father is someone who's trying to be hip with her, trying to be like very cool, but in this kind of suburban town that they live in, a lot of the teachers are trying to relate to the younger generation. You have the principal like dabs, like trying to like chill with the kids, and I just thought it was so hilarious and all that. They're watching a sex education video where in the introduction the lady is like, "This video is going to be lit," and I'm just like, "What?" It was just so hilarious. The one thing I will say though that is very disturbing, but it's also a slice of what everyday life is now for these kids, is that they actually go through a live shooter scenario drill, which I'm just like, oh, I'm like, to think like these kids have to go through this these days.
Yeah.
I was just not expecting that, and that did definitely like punch me in the gut there. But very touching movie, very very heartwarming at the end. I love how she kind of found a friend, but kind of unexpectedly. And, she's moving into high school and she, creates a video talking to herself, saying, don't worry, everything's gonna be okay. Whether high school was great or not, you're still you and all that. And I think at our ages at that time, that's what we would have wanted to hear across the board. So, um, yeah, I can't. I just thought this was a really well done movie. Blake, you said that this was gonna come up on your list.
This is like it would have been up. It's basically like a depending on which ones you picked where kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
it's definitely in
Mhm.
that 10 to 15 range for sure.
Okay.
Um, Glad you picked it. I put this one off for a while. Like didn't love eighth grade. Did not want to relive it. They did a really Bo Burnham did a really good job of capturing that feeling. And even though he's an older dude, I
Yeah.
don't know if that's exactly what it's like for eighth grade for people in that year. But what I do know is that awkward feeling, that like puberty, like I'm uncomfortable being at the party in my body, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Like the awkward, there was a couple interactions she had with boys at the swim party, and like the guy's trying to be impressive, but he's a kid, so he's like his pickup line is like, "Do you want to see who can hold or breath underwater the longest?" And like, there's that like Napoleon Dynamite energy of everyone at
Yes.
that age
Yes.
kind of thing. Like,
Yep.
gosh, you're really freaking me out right now. Stop being so close. But it wasn't a absurd silliness. It was a
Right.
really poignant, well done, hitting that feeling. I did. It also helped because it like there's something in therapy where you can like rewrite a trauma from the past, and like this
Hmm.
movie helped where like, oh, I'm distant, I'm detached from it, I'm experiencing it and witnessing it. So it did such a good job that like after I was like, oh yeah, that is outside of me. That is not something that only lives in my head because I'd heard people say like, oh, middle school sucks, puberty sucks, life is tough, then you don't know what's going on. Like
Yeah.
people say it, but actually like seeing it. I haven't seen a movie do it that tightly. Really well written, really well acted, well cast, well directed, all the above. So, shout out to A24 for making that movie and giving Bo Burnham his directorial debut
Yeah.
about feature film. So, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. We're speaking of eighth grade, we're at the number 8 spot. So
Yeah. Um, okay. We got to do a little clarity here.
yeah.
A24's done a lot of stuff. They've done TV shows. I know that we're a movie episode.
Yeah.
I think of stand-up specials as movies, but I know they're not like feature films. Am I correct? This is like a feature films list?
Yes. I don't count comedy specials.
Okay. My favorite shapes by Julio Torres. Shout out from SNL. Shout out. That dude's awesome. Great special. Whitmer Thomas, the golden one. Shout out Whitmer Thomas. Dude's releasing an album and doing a tour right now. I'm not talking about it because we don't talk about stand-up specials on this channel, but that one was on HBO and was very, very special to me. I want to say it, but my co-host will not allow me. So,
Sorry.
fine, Renee. I agree. They are not feature films. They're kind of like movies. They're on Letterboxd. That's all I know. That's what a movie is to me now. I've just spent too much time on that app. Uh, for my next pick, we got three left. I want to make sure I don't miss anything fucking amazing. I'm gonna go with Last Black Man in San Francisco.
Very nice. Very nice.
You saw this one.
I have. Yes.
Okay. Beautiful, well done, well acted. Indie movie was not what I expected. Was much better than I expected. I had high hopes for this one. I love a good, unique indie drama. This is perfect at that category. The it's partly based on one of the writers of the screenplay. My understanding is that these dudes are buddies, and in some ways, like it's about him and a friend, and
Mhm.
it feels like a very true story, and some aspects of it are very outside of, I'm assuming, most Americans' day-to-day lives. They captured something and it felt so damn human. The way it was directed, what these dudes are going through at this exact time in their life in San Francisco. I don't know what to say about it exactly, other than, regardless of what your expectations are, see this movie. It is special, it's unique, it's a very A24 movie. I think if I'd known how much of an A24 movie it was, I probably would have seen it sooner.
Mhm.
Just because. Uh, I don't know what I was expecting. It wasn't this. This one was so well written and so well acted. Um, the human drama, the I honestly don't even know what to say about it. So it premieres in Sundance in 2019. It comes out that same year. So we're talking more late stage A24 and only from a couple years ago.
Mm.
I saw it maybe late last year or early this year, and I'd put it off. I thought it was going to be more of just like Oscar bait drama kind of stuff, not that good, a little bit boring, just solid dialogue, good characters. They're going through drama in their lives, and it was a very unique movie. Haven't seen anything quite like it. You're also looking at Jonathan Majors in a big film role.
Oh yeah.
We're seeing him come up in different ways, and he's been had it, but he's now coming up in different properties in multiple IPs at the same time. So I'm loved that aspect of it, seeing him. His buddy in the movie was my favorite character. He they put on a play like I'm trying to think of like I can explain parts of it, but the feeling that it captures is what's so special about it. It definitely has that A24 high quality craftsmanship and artistry done throughout it, and is a very beautiful human story. I don't what when did you see it, and like what were your thoughts on it? How does this rate for you?
So I saw this. I want to say either last year or the year before. This was definitely like a more recent thing. And no, like everything you said, I just saw it as just like a great human drama type of story. The relationship between and the actor of the buddy is Jimmy Fails.
Thank you.
So good, just so good. And at the time, I don't think I was that familiar with Jonathan Majors just yet.
Yeah.
And I think soon after I saw this movie is when I saw The Five Bloods that he was in.
Mm.
And I was like, "Oh, there he is." And wow, okay. This dude's got chops for sure. So if anything, I just really love the fact that it introduced me to actors that I normally would not have known about, really, to be honest with you. But yeah, no, it was one of those movies that I've heard a lot of people talk about, but I just never had a chance to see it, and then I finally did, and it was just really, really well done. I believe the director is Joe Talbot, who I've heard his name kind of thrown around a little bit now from that time to time.
Mm.
I would love to see what his next thing is going to be, because I just love the way he directed this movie. Um, and it's interesting too because uh, he's not really exactly who I would have expected to write and direct a movie like this, right? But he it's as if he really knows how to touch this subject matter, and I think that's really at the end of the day what really matters or counts the most, right? So, um, great movie. Like I love the fact that you have this on your list.
I guess that's actually a good point on who the director is, because the director is childhood best friends with Jimmy Fails, and I think I have to
Yeah,
assume to some degree the Jonathan Major characters is based on them or somebody else,
yeah,
or they're putting people together kind of thing. That's got to be like when I'm having a hard time explaining how good they do at that human story, but it's a
hmm,
unique story. Is it would take because Jimmy Fails is the lead of it. He helps write the story with the director,
yeah,
and they are both childhood best friends. Um, that's got to be because like you're talking about like you wouldn't expect that a movie from that dude. Like the only way a movie is this human is if you have people with those kind of like best friend level connections of like I get
yeah,
you, I know who you are, and I know how to tell your story to somebody else. That's
absolutely, yeah.
that's like was a magic recipe. I'm curious. Like we know Jonathan Majors. This was I'd seen him in White Boy Rick before this.
Oh,
Uh,
okay,
that was the first movie, but then he's doing this a year later. And then you're
yeah,
right, The Five Bloods, Lovecraft Country. He's now a full blown Marvel star and has his own movie currently scheduled for 2025, Avengers: The
yeah.
Dynasty. Shout out. And he's in Creed 3 apparently. So I don't know. I think Loki is the first time he's introduced to Marvel, right? But anyway, uh, that's another example of A24 putting somebody on. They're on the come up, and then they
Hmm.
give them like a starring role in a feature, and just give them that next level of of I guess you'd say like prestige or responsibility, and they knock it
Yeah.
out of the park with this one for sure.
No, 100%. Yeah, like really, really great movie. I'm glad I finally got to see it, and I'm glad that it made your list. So really, really good shout out there. Hey everybody, are you a fan of collectibles, action figures, Funko Pops, and all that stuff like that? Do me a favor and visit entertainmentearth.com and you won't be sorry. Entertainment Earth is the premier place online for the latest and greatest toys, the most exciting action figures, and the coolest gifts and collectibles pop culture has to offer. From television, movies, sports, celebrities, comics, internet memes, and every fandom in between, they drop new products daily and curate their selection so that you don't miss out. Whether you're looking for something stellar from a galaxy far, far away with Star Wars, or from the streets of Gotham City with DC Comics, they've got surprises for everyone. Get access to exclusive releases and limited run pre orders. You can even reserve hard to find items before they arrive. From Funko to Hasbro, all your favorite vendors are represented in their robust catalog of cool collectibles. Take advantage of their unparalleled industry expertise and make your collection as worthy as Marvel's Thor. They are pleased to offer risk-free shopping with their industry-leading mint condition guarantee and hassle-free 90-day returns. Find that grail you're seeking for yourself or someone you love. And because I know how special they are and how they're going to be great for a lot of you out there, I worked a special deal with them that if you check out the link featured in the description of this episode, you will get 10% off plus free shipping over orders of $40 or more. I mean, that is fantastic, don't you think? Now, the 10% discount is only good for in-stock merchandise, so it doesn't work for any pre-orders, but if you take a look at their site, there's going to be a lot of stuff they have in stock that you'll probably want to get. So again, visit that special link in the description of this episode to take advantage of this awesome 10% offer plus free shipping and buy yourself or a loved one something really cool. Entertainment Earth, so many toys, so much fun. All right, my number 8. So, since you took my Minari away from me, I had to go somewhere that I guess in a way also talks about Asian culture and all that, and that would be The Farewell.
Yeah.
The Farewell, starring Aquafina. Now everyone knows her about her comedy and all that, but this is like Aquafina's real first dramatic role. And me being, part Asian and all that, like I know the subject matter, and it was just very interesting to see it play out on the screen. I guess for someone my age, I would kind of like relate it to like the Joy Luck Club in a way, where it was just like you get to see like a Asian family dynamic and all that. And this is definitely one of those movies that helps kind of showcase that and kind of showcase the struggle of a Chinese girl and a daughter and living the life and trying to meet expectations of the family while still being fulfilled in her own life. And I wasn't sure how she was going to do in this type of movie, but I was pleasantly pleased and surprised at how well she does in this more serious dramatic role. I do think she deserves to explore this more on her own and do more of the movies like this. Because again, like her comedy, sometimes, at least personally for me, it doesn't really always hit. Like she gets a little bit like one notey sometimes and just kind of like, oh, okay, she's playing the same type of character. Yada, funny, like, sidekick or third person in a movie or whatever the case is. But to see her in the forefront in this drama is just, it was really, really refreshing and it was a breath of fresh air, and I really, really enjoyed it a lot. I believe we were still working together when this movie came out, and I remember we were talking about it in the office. So, yeah, I really love this movie, and I believe you liked it as well, right?
Love The Farewell. It's one of those I was rooting for. I don't know if I rate it as highly as you do,
Hmm.
but I did. It was one of those feelings I had where, okay, this movie, if I didn't have my life experience, I had somebody else's,
Yeah.
this movie would hit hard because, again, A24 doing that human thing, telling a real story, but doing it so well and it's so well crafted that like it gets a feeling or an experience, a life experience through. It was very, very well done, very well written. I love seeing Awkwafina doing that as well. I don't know that how long her comedy can last.
Yeah.
conversation of people trying to like cancel her for her comedy style and the way she
Yeah.
speaks when she does comedy, etc. I think she's fully capable, this movie showed, of doing her own more authentic, realistic, toned down kind of thing.
Mhm.
And I think she could also just like be a comedy or movie star in other ways as well. But in this one, on the low key, quieter indie drama family, very very well done, beautiful movie. I know, um, like I remember leaving the theater and just like it was one of those like call your family after you see this
Oh
movie.
yeah. Oh yeah.
It teaches you it, like it's the kind of that it imparts like being a human being can be difficult. You can feel like your struggles are unique. The people in your life are among the most important things. Don't take them for granted. Kind of movies. And I remember Minari and The Farewell are both movies where afterward I called my family. Like
Hmm.
literally, I remember making a phone call on the walk home afterward. This movie was very very good at imparting that to everybody. So. Well, I don't know why. For some reason, like I think it's mainly because of the drama of it, and like I was saying earlier, like the more Oscar bait style drama, family drama kind of thing, is not as much my favorite. So I don't think I put it on my top 10, but it definitely deserves a spot. Like it was a well done, well crafted, well executed movie for sure. It was special.
Yeah. No, yeah. And I remember us talking about it in the office, and we were just like, I think we stayed late one day just to talk
Yeah,
about it. Yeah.
yeah,
It was.
yeah.
It's definitely one of those movies that will lead to that. Just like a lot of these movies on our list so far. So yeah, number 9. We're getting down to it.
Okay. I'm doing a weird one here. I know I've been hitting home runs this entire time. I'm tired of hitting home runs. I'm just gonna take
So you're just gonna do a double now?
I'm gonna take one for the team. I'm gonna get the RBI to somebody give somebody else the run. I'm going Free Fire. Did you see Free Fire?
No.
Nobody saw Free Fire. Free
Ooh.
Fire is my wild card A24. I just googled the words Free Fire and that is not at all what comes up. That is like nobody gave a fuck about this movie somehow, and it reminds me. It's like it's Tarantino-ish. It's kind of like a Guy Ritchie movie. It's more like a Guy Ritchie movie for sure, but the way they do the dialogue, this cast. Okay, we got Brie Larson, Armie Hammer, Cillian Murphy, great cast, and it's one of those movies. It's a set location. You've got it's roughly like 8 to 10 people. They're all. I saw it in theaters. I'm not going to be able to recreate the plot because it's so damn complex. But it's set in the 70s, so it's got this very 1970s style. Um, and they're doing a weapons gun money exchange. I don't even recall if there were drugs being transferred, but
Mhm.
basically, multiple people show up to a warehouse to exchange things, and just like you've seen in other movies, a gun goes off, kind of thing, and then everyone gets on the defensive. Next thing you know, which like at some point like people are switching sides and then their buddy sells them out or they're thinking you're the bad guy. Okay, you collaborated with them. Now I'm gonna shoot at you. No, I didn't. You did. You shoot at you. And somebody's trying to escape. It's one of those at the end of the movie. There are people who go through such utter hell. Literally, to my knowledge, the opening of the movie is people going towards this warehouse. The rest of the movie is in a warehouse with a lot of weapons. And a lot of people, like almost point blank, like just firing at each other. And then, like, things are blowing up. And then somebody's getting doused in gasoline. Then they're covered in mud. And, like, they lose a limb. And, like, it is so bizarre, but it is also very tight and well choreographed and you could follow along during it even though there's all this happening. It was just like it was a weird experiment of a movie and I'm not surprised it didn't do better, but it's one of those like I hit up a few people afterward, like people like my brother loves Guy Ritchie movies. He's the one who
Yeah.
showed me Guy Ritchie cinema, and now like every time we see a Guy Ritchie movie we try to see it together. This is on that level for sure, between like quick dialogue, a smart writing and plot setup, the way people interact kind of thing.
Mhm.
um, no idea what happened to it or any, like I don't know the facts of this movie at all because there wasn't a lot of attention paid to it. But if you want a over the top action shoot 'em up kind of movie, perfect choice. I
Huh.
first I was saying like this is like a more of a like a lower key, like this should be lower on my list, and you knocked a few off, so like it's a little, it's not top 10. It wouldn't be on my pure top 10, but like This is a really well done movie, and it is a lot of fun to where the kind of thing we've talked about before is that weird human reaction you have when you see something like so shocking and over the top. You go, oh my God, like that kind of thing in the theater. Like
Yeah.
that definitely happens multiple times. And at the end, there's one where you're like, I cannot believe what that human just went through. And then, yeah, really, really well done movie. So put it on your list, bro.
All
Put it on
right.
for sure.
Yeah,
Now,
you
this is
just
an
can.
action movie. We talked about Everything Everywhere being A24's big action movie. This is an
Yeah.
A24 action movie for sure, but it's a fun one. Just pretty much nonstop silliness, over the top, ridiculous, awesome.
Yeah, you know, you convinced me, and just by the sound of it, it sounds like it is. Well, everything, everywhere, all at once has action. I
Right.
wouldn't consider it to be like an action movie. Like this
No.
really sounds like
No.
a legit
Yeah.
action movie, which we haven't covered yet in an eight in our A24 list. So no, that's how is okay. Because I'm looking at the cast. How is Army Hammer in it?
Okay, so again, I saw this in theaters. I don't even know where you can watch this movie. Like, honestly, I
I
made this
think Showtime has it.
recommendation. They like Barry. Okay, good. Thank
Yeah.
goodness, because this movie needs to be seen more. I remember this is like peak Army Hammer. It's around Man from Uncle time, if I
Okay.
recall. Like, well, not
Okay.
too far from there. Um, I don't recall what he did to people's bodies other than shooting them. I don't remember if there was anything else going on there. I don't know if he was selling timeshares. We got to do one of our episodes has to be like the what happened to Ezra Miller, what happened to Army Hammer, what's like what is going on. But this is a
Oh
time
my
in my
god.
life where I was oblivious to all of that, and it was a much better time. If you want to have fun, watch
Well,
this movie. If you want to
most
have
of us
not
were.
Google Army Hammer to now.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Well, it's interesting because they have that documentary about him coming out soon, where it covers and it unravels a lot of the background stuff. So that
How long until documentaries start telling the crazy stories before they even happen? Like in 2 years, this is what's going to happen to this person because this feels a little quick, but okay, I'm sure it's
hey,
full baked.
I think it's also because like the Hammer family has been involved in a lot of questionable stuff apparently. So
Okay,
yeah,
I have to drop. Call Me by Your Name's been my favorite movie on Letterboxd for so long, and a couple days ago I was like, I'm gonna have to drop that soon because I can't get that out of my head now. When I watch
right,
this movie, where some people were a little worried about the predatorial aspect of the age kind of thing, and like I'm like, now I'm not gonna get that out of my head. Fuck.
yeah.
And Woody Allen's
Hey,
movie's ruined because that shit's a little too close to home and a little too real, and you can't shake it. And fucking
yeah.
Call Me by Your Name's been #1 for years, and I'm probably gonna put Everything Everywhere All at Once in its place. I'm actually fine with that. Okay, moving on.
Hey, things happen. Things happen. All right. So for my number 9, all right, we've mentioned his name several times. No one has mentioned his movies yet. Well, at least added his movie to our list yet. We talked about him off and on. You've mentioned him a couple of times, and that's Robert Eggers. And his first movie for A24 was The Witch,
You're
or The
not going
Vivitch.
Lighthouse. You're going Witch.
I'm going The
You're going
Vivitch.
Zavitch. You like Zavitch better
Yes,
than the
I like
Lighthouse.
The Vitch better. Yes,
Wow. Okay.
because like don't get me wrong, The Lighthouse is a phenomenal film. Very well executed, like black and white. I love again, we talked about this too, solitary kind of confinements, right? It's like two guys in a singular place, really, and like you just see them basically lose their minds and all that. The Witch is a little bit more of my speed, where I love kind of like the fantasy element of everything, where you're in this old like kind of like village and all that from back in the day, and basically you have a town that is being haunted by supernatural beings and witches. The witches are around and basically tormenting this little town. I just love the execution of this because it was creepy, it was very like dark. um Again, I didn't see this a long time ago. This After watching Midsommar, this opened my eyes to, all right, now I'm gonna watch Hereditary, and then the next on my list was The Vivitch and all that. So watching this, I was just like, wow, just the directing and the execution of this movie was so well done. Plus, it introduced the world to one of my favorite bays of all time, and that's Anya Taylor Joy right now, and she was like really,
What?
really, yeah, she was
A24
again,
with the come up.
yeah,
Damn.
A24 again introducing people to the audiences and out there. But this was the first time a lot of people got to see Anya Taylor-Joy, and I thought she was really good in this movie, albeit very young. But people grow up, and this was a while ago. But no, the execution of this movie, and again the supernatural kind of eerie element of it, really was creepy. Especially like towards the end when things really start coming into full fruition. I would put this up there along with like Hereditary, but since I've already mentioned Ari Aster in Midsommar, because I do feel like that's his strongest movie. The Vivitch it takes place for Hereditary for me on this list, and I really really enjoyed it. I know this is a type of movie that you'll probably never watch,
No.
because of the creepy aspect and everything. And this is one of those movies that I could see totally creeping you out big time.
Yeah.
So would not recommend it. But for those of you out there, again, there's a conversation going around in like the horror universe about hybrid horrors. Horror movies that aren't really maybe like your slasher or your grotesque or whatever the case is. This is definitely, I think, one of the movies that started that whole subgenre of horror movies, and I really and then again we get to see him come back in The Lighthouse and then The Northman, and you could see he just keeps getting better and better with his movies. So I really love how his first entry out there, and it was really, really well done. So
I have not seen it. I will never, ever, ever see it. I'm glad that you watch movies like that so that one of us is in that ground. So thank you for recommending a movie that I will never see. But my understanding, like as mentioned before, Midsommar and Hereditary, The Witch is also one of those where, like,
yeah.
as a cinephile, I know I need to see it. I'm never going to. I would love to. I'm glad you threw that on the list for sure. One of us should. I'm on my
All
last
right,
pick.
this is
Is this
it. This
number
is
10?
it. Number
We get to do
10.
honorable mentions afterward, right?
Yes, we
Okay,
could do it
thank.
right. Yeah, for sure.
Because I'm kind of like freaking out on some of the things that are getting left off. There's so many damn good A24 movies. Do you want to turn this into a top 20 draft? Like, why not? Like, let's keep that open.
Yeah, we're already like almost 2 hours in. Why not? Yeah, let's switch it up.
Okay. I have about five on here that I could pick from. I'm gonna just literally like eeny, meeny, miny, mo this thing, and I'm gonna go with okay, fine. I'll mention all the other ones in honorable mentions. I'm going First Reformed.
Oh, okay.
Part of the reason I'm going First Reformed is it's an A24 movie where it's not necessarily that they're putting someone who's on the come up. They're taking earlier. I was mentioning Martin Scorsese movies being very influential to me when I'm
Mhm.
getting into cinema for the first time. Paul Schrader is the motherfucker who writes Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, Last Temptation of Christ. Like three of my favorite, two my number one and two Scorsese movies, and The Last Temptation is up there. This dude has been in Hollywood for a good minute, and A24 is letting the man direct things. We talk about it sometimes. We're like, Aaron Sorkin is allowed to direct things because he's such a good writer, but he
Yeah.
probably shouldn't. Paul Schrader makes First Reformed, and he makes The Card Counter. Speaking of Oscar Isaac earlier, that was the one that Isaac starred in recently. First Reformed, Ethan Hawke. I saw this one in theaters. It is more of a drama. It's closer to Oscar bait kind of thing, where it's just like people talking in a room, going through some things. It's got that Paul Schrader intensity, that like need for redemption or salvation, this like man going through intense transformation, crisis experience thing that he's really, really good at. And it co-stars Amanda Seyfried. But basically, we have a minister. The line is a Protestant minister played by Ethan Hawke struggling with his faith while serving as a pastor of a dwindling historic church in upstate New York. And the other aspect of it not mentioned there is he's trying to serve a young newlywed couple, and one of the dudes is obsessed with climate change, cannot stop talking and thinking about the world ending. It's going, what's the point? I think they have a baby, they're trying to have a baby, and it's like, why should I even have a family if I know the world's ending? And then it's like he's trying to help someone who's kind of mentally ill and kind of like accurately reading the room of the planet, and And is his own priest going through his own kind of like intensity, but is then like going through his own personal crisis and then going to, and having to show up and be there for someone who's in need, this young couple. It doesn't sound very entertaining, especially after Free Fire and getting to that like bizarro action stuff. This one, there is like just as much action, if we're talking about drama, as action. And there's something at the ending, like if you're on the fence about seeing, there's something at the ending, like just a scene, a moment. There's a way that they'll like that he'll film a glass and then someone pouring something in a glass, and it's just so beautifully shot. So he's not just a writer who is allowed to use a camera. Paul Schrader is doing damn good work writing and directing this movie, similar to Card Counter, doing some unique camera work, some really great proper script writing, old school style, incredible character development. And then or by the end of the movie, like I was into it and I was enjoying it. I was like, this is really well done. And at the end of the movie, I'm not gonna say anymore, but like just I left the theater being like, God damn, that was good. So good luck. It's not the easiest watch. I kind of want. I wish I'd switched those and ended with Free Fire, the funner one. But definitely don't end your night on First Reformed if you're doing the movie marathon,
Right.
the review. But I definitely recommend First Reformed for sure.
Nice. Nice. All right. Yeah. Again, now I have that on my list of things
Right.
I need to watch. If you're like us and you have a list of A24 movies you want to watch that you haven't seen yet, a great streaming service that has a lot of them right now is Showtime. Showtime has an A24 curated list on their service because they have a special deal with them. So a lot of these movies, especially the ones you never heard of or the ones that aren't as common, you will find there. So a lot of the movies that Blake is mentioning now that I haven't had a chance to watch, I can watch on Showtime. So I think I know what I'm going to be watching for the next couple of weeks,
Hmm.
and pretty like at least
Hell
cleaning up my A24 list there.
yeah.
So
Hell yeah.
cool. Oh man, last one. This is tough. This is a tough one. So I'm glad that we're doing honorable mentions because I like you will have my fair share of honorable mentions. But if I was to close out my personal list of favorite A24 movies, oh, this is tough.
I'm glad I went first because goddamn, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Again, it's like choosing your favorite child. You just don't do that. There's just so many great movies in their library.
My favorite
Um,
child, that's mocking now, but okay,
oh
sure.
well, okay.
Your 10th
That's
favorite child is the hardest one to choose. That's what they always
it
say.
is. It really is. So all right. I think I'm going to put. Whew,
No,
all
don't
right.
mess this up, man. You got to rethink it.
No, no,
You
no,
got
no,
to
no,
put
no,
the
no.
pressure's on Renee.
All right, I got it.
Are you sure?
It was already on my list. It was already on my list. The Disaster Artist. I'm putting the Disaster Artist as my number 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
Terrible choice. You fucked up. Sorry.
So the reason why okay, the reason why this makes my top 10 is because Tommy Wiseau is one of those enigmatic, wacky Hollywood fixtures, right? Like he is just one of those. Like we talked about Charlie Sheen, Tommy Wiseau. Like Charlie Sheen turned into that person, like for whatever reason. Tommy Wiseau has just always been that person, and he is not shy about it one bit. Hearing the making of The Room, probably one of the most laughed at movies that was meant to be serious, where they across the country would hold screenings about the movie, where they would like, you know, laugh about it. Or they scream out all the different quotes from the movie, all that stuff. It became a meme before memes were a thing. It was just a phenomenon that this movie kind of created in the genre of like movies and all that stuff like that, especially like cult movies and cult fandom. So when I heard that James Franco is gonna be making kind of like a mock, like a reenactment of the making of this movie, and just put himself in the persona of Tommy Wiseau, that sold me immediately. even before watching the movie. Then you saw the trailers, and you're just like, wow, he's nailing the affect that this guy has.
Yeah.
And just watching the movie play out, he's in there with his brother, and Seth Rogen's in the movie, like all the usual cast of characters that these people kind of hang out with. And I was just laughing from beginning to end. Like this movie was just so comical and so out there and so outrageous, especially knowing and understanding that this actually did happen. Like this isn't an actual reenactment of everything that kind of went down. And it was, again, A24 is not very known for a lot of their comedies. Again, they're really known for, well, they're known for like dark comedies. They're known for obviously horror and more serious fare. This is like laugh out loud, straight up comedy. And I just loved every minute of it. So I put that there on my list, even though probably other things on my honorable mentions probably deserve that spot. But for me personally, this made it up there because I think it really well rounds out what A24 can do. If you look at my list, it's like all over the place, right? So I think it's like a well rounding out of
That's good.
the types of stories and the types of content that A24 puts out there. So that's why I went that way.
Good call.
Yeah.
We've both done 10. Do you want to recap where we just go 10, 9, 8?
Yeah.
Rapid
Uh,
fire with
I
each
have
one?
the list. Yeah, I have the list right here. So I was keeping
I'll let you-
tracks.
Okay, do your thing.
Yeah. So Blake, 1 through 10. At number 1, we have Ex Machina. Number 2 is Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Home
Number
run.
3 is Uncut Gems.
Home run.
Number 4 is Moonlight.
Home run.
Number 5 is Minari.
Home run.
Number 6 is Obvious Child.
Get weirder from here.
Number 7 is Under the Skin.
Very weird.
Number 8 is Last Black Man in San Francisco.
Solid.
Number 9 is Free Fire.
Super weird.
And number 10 is First Reformed.
Super, super weird.
So that's Blake's top
Proud
10
of
there.
that list. Hell
That's a
yeah.
good list. It's a great list.
Your
All right.
bottom half is actually much nicer than my. Okay. All right. Do yours.
All right. So my list: number 1, After Yang.
Weird.
Number 2, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On.
Okay.
Number 3 is Midsommar.
Nope.
Number 4 is Locke.
Weird.
Number 5 is The Lobster.
So good. So weird.
Number 6 is A Ghost Story.
Okay. Weird.
Number 7 is 8th Grade.
Ugh. Hell
Number
yeah.
8 is The Farewell.
Yeah.
Number 9 is The Village. Number 10. Wait, what did I have for my number 10?
Disaster artist.
Oh yeah, The Disaster Artist. Why do I have a different title here? Okay. Oh, I know. I was writing out my my honorable mention. So, yes, number 10 is The Disaster Artist. So, that is our top 10. So, basically, if you think about it as a combination, this is our top 20 A24 movies right there.
Yo.
Right?
Put them on your watch list right now. The fact that you had so many unique ones, because our tastes are a little bit different and we sync
Yeah.
up on a lot of them. We knew that like a few of these are going to both line up for us. The fact that we had so many ones that you hadn't seen, I hadn't seen at all.
Yeah.
It's wild and speaks to A24's batting average. Because damn, that's a lot of unique movies where there are going to be other ones too that we could put on that list. Which, speaking of, do you want to just take turns doing honorable mentions, or how are you feeling it?
Why don't we just do like real quick, just run through your quick honorable mentions, and if you mention something that, or if you haven't mentioned something that was on mine, I'll fill in afterwards.
And I'm not going to go into each one as badly as I want to because a lot of these deserve that 10th spot for sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Zola, mid 90s. We've mentioned a few of these. We mentioned Lighthouse. We mentioned some of the ones where we're saying the director using them twice. So like Green Knight. I want to put Tragedy of Macbeth in my 10th spot.
Oh,
sure.
yes.
Lady Bird, solid movie. We mentioned that with the director who moved on later. The Humans, I really love.
Oh, I love that movie.
Spring Breakers, which was like the breakthrough A24 movie. I view that I rate it very highly. Amy, the Amy Winehouse documentary,
Yes.
R.I.P. A lot of people love Florida Project. It's going to be one that I don't enjoy watching, but it's really well done and well beloved.
Yeah.
Enemy, Denis Villeneuve has an early movie.
Yes. Good
A
call
Most
on that
Violent
one.
Year, early Oscar Isaac on the come up. Equals, is a really well done dystopian movie. American Honey was the Shia LaBeouf road trip um, young people movie, really well done. And
Mm,
I'm gonna end it with Mississippi Grind. Loved that one. So
nice.
any of those could have been in a top 10 list for sure.
Nice. Yeah, a lot of movies you mentioned are also movies I would have mentioned too. I would add. We talked about this too. Hereditary. Yeah.
Yep.
Again, Ari Aster. Room. Brie Larson. Like that's the thing that really put her on the map. Really, to be honest. And even though there are moments in that movie that is just so cringy, the acting is just breathtaking. Like her acting is really brilliant in that. It Comes at Night, another movie that you probably would never watch, but it's like a post-apocalyptic kind of horror movie that really speaks highly on paranoia. And I thought it was really well done. Um, but yeah, I mean, those are like a lot. I would put Florida Project on my list because I did like that. It's kind of like slice of life type of movie. There are people out there like that, and it's just again telling people who are not familiar that those are real people that they're portraying over there. And by the same director, I would also add Red Rocket to that list too.
Yeah.
Really far out there movie, man. But it kind of again what A24 does really well. It brought back Rex Simon, who has been kind of out of the limelight or spotlight for a very long time, and or no, it's not Rex Simon, Simon Rex. I did like a weird a weird reversal of things, but yeah, but I haven't seen that dude in forever, and then all of a sudden here he is. And then when that movie came out, he did a roundtable, like an actors roundtable. It was like him. Um, oh, who was it? Hold on, I gotta find this because I was like really blown away that he was included in this acting roundtable. It was him, Nicolas Cage. Uh, let's see. I believe Jonathan. No. It was Andrew Garfield, Jonathan Majors, Nicolas Cage, Simon Rex, and uh the other guy, the guy from Game of Thrones, who was in Cyrano,
Oh, Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage.
Yeah.
So he found himself on an actors roundtable with these
Love
brilliant
it.
actors
Love
because
it.
of Red Rocket, and I
Yeah.
was just like, wow, that's just phenomenal. So
Love to see it.
so there it is. Again, we went through a lot, brilliant list all around, amazing movies under the A24 belt. We would love to hear your comments and thoughts about anything that we talked about. Which movies are your favorites? Was there something that we didn't mention that maybe you would include on this? Because again, we just covered what, maybe 75% of their library, because there's so many more movies that they have, that we haven't even talked about, that we probably even haven't seen ourselves. And then they have a lot of movies, in the fort, like coming out soon as well. I haven't seen X, and I'm dying to
Yeah,
see X.
it's actually one that a horror movie that I actually would want to see for sure.
Yeah, especially since Pearl is coming out, which is supposed to be the prequel to
Yeah,
X.
for sure.
So I'm very and another movie that I'm really anticipating for this year is The Inspection. The Inspection sounds really interesting to me. So I'm really curious about that. But yeah, let us know in the comments what your favorite A24 movies are,
Oh,
what you
yeah.
thought of our list, who had the better list. Yeah, let's have some fun with that. I don't know. It's not a competition, but it's just like
No, it's not a competition because I kicked your ass, dude. I hit 5 home runs in a row in the first inning. Are you kidding me?
you're
I
just you're
took
just you're just a little bitter that I stole some of your selections.
everything. You already know I took your best. Nah, fuck out of here, man. But it wasn't a competition. It was a competition, man. That was,
No,
yeah.
it's all good. Your list plus my list equals just great movies in general.
Great
It's
fucking movie.
just
I love it.
yeah, and I think again, if you were to ask us this question again next year, it would be probably very different.
Oh
It could
yeah.
be very different, especially the more movies I watch and the more movies you watch. It could be a totally different story. But let us know everything in the comments. That's our movie time A24 extravaganza for the week. We'll probably break this episode up into several episodes on the YouTube channel, but podcast listeners, you get to hear the full thing all throughout. But before we go, Blake, where could people find you on the interwebs?
Letterboxd.com is a website where I used as my source material for what are the A24 movies. They have lists of movies based on every possible category you could imagine, including A24 movies. I did that. I filtered it based on which ones I'd already seen. And so I just go, oh, I've logged every movie I've ever seen. I've seen this many A24 movies. That makes it so much easier. If you're someone who likes film and on that level and are a cinephile, you get it's more accurate reviews. We're not sponsored by them. I'm just excited.
No.
I love this app. You can find my other movie recommendations if you like this episode on Letterboxd. My screen name is Blake Wolf SSN BLAKEWOLFSSN. And I don't stand by my top 10 list today enough that like my list on Letterboxd actually looks kind of different, but that's what's fun about this and these conversations. So hell yeah, find me there.
Yeah.
And in the comments section below, where you tell me how many home runs I hit versus Renee's 0 home runs. And I actually do want to hear from people, like, what are the ones we missed that you recommend? I love a good movie recommendation if it's somebody's on that level. Like, let us know the good ones that I'm sure there are some. So hit us up.
No, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Like a lot of you who've been chiming in our recent videos have given us a lot of great insights and a lot of great recommendations. So definitely keep that coming. As for myself, obviously Lowkey Geek, you see all the screen names and tags up on the screen in front of you. Instagram, Twitter, what have you. Obviously the YouTube channel. If you've enjoyed any of this, and you'd love to follow us along and keep up to date with us, best way to do so is for free by subscribing, liking, hitting that notification bell so you get notified for any episode that is uploaded on the YouTube channel. And for audio listeners, Lowkey Geek podcast channel on your podcast platform of choice, where you can find this episode amongst all the other goodies that we put out there. So that being said, I'm Rene. This is Blake. This has been Movie Time. Stay cool, stay classy, stay safe, and we will catch you all next time, baby. Peace out. Gucci.